Okay, folks, welcome to round 5 review of the Longford Senior Championship. And today we're in Glennon Brothers Pierce Park, Longford. Well, the first match we're going to look at is Keena versus Kilo. I don't think it was on Clubber, Jimmy.
No, they didn't do that one on Clubber. It was one of the only ones. They didn't do the Rathline Colmkill one either, because there were, I suppose, games that didn't count for anything as the results meant nothing. But once again, it was a very impressive display from Kilo, and they just, unfortunately for Keena, they've ended up with no points on the board after 5 hard championship games, you know, and losing players, and I suppose confidence dips as well when you're losing out. And they had a chance in a couple of early games maybe to get a result or something, but as the season went on for them, it just got worse, and took a heavy beating to Granard the week before, and this was the worst defeat they suffered. So a bad end for Keena, and now they face into a relegation battle against, we're not sure on the other side yet. But for Kilo, hugely impressive again. Like, they're scoring at will. Luke Dempsey brought on a lot of fringe players and gave them run outs as well, so you know they're going very well. And as I said last week, the only issue I see for Kilo is maybe they haven't been tested hard enough, and going into a quarter final maybe that'll stand against them, but they're looking very impressive and really a standout team in the championship so far.
Podgy, what was your take on the paper? What was the headline of the paper about that match?
Well, we didn't actually deal with that match because it was a kind of a dead rubber. We concentrated on the 3 in Group B, which obviously was the so-called Group of Death.
Right. Did you see the match at all then? No.
Which, the Keena and Kilo?
Keena, yeah.
No. Look, it was pointless in a sense.
Yeah.
Keena were in the relegation pot, and Kilo had won the group, and basically it was, I say, nothing better than the challenge match really for Kilo. As the scoreline reflects, it was 4-19 to 3 points. Yeah. Which, you know, like, it's tough when the team gets hammered like that, you know, but Keena couldn't be up for it when they were out, like, you know, so. And there was talk even that they mightn't fulfil it, but because again it meant nothing, but they'd be fine if they didn't.
Yes.
And so they played the match. I'm fair play to them for playing the match, you know, and that they were going to be in for a hiding. Yeah. And that's the way, as Jimmy says, Kilo they have a serious panel now. Like, they're building up. They're building up for bigger things. Yeah. Where we're standing here now, this is what they're building up for in Pierce Park, where the serious business begins. But I think there's a lot of serious business began even before we get to Pierce Park.
Well, you know? Just talking about that, Podgy, your main headline on the back page, I think the controversy. Yeah,
the match result controversy over in Ballymahan with Mullinaghta and Carrick-Edmond, and the whole county is talking about it. As I say, David Tiernan apparently made it out to be a draw, 2-12 apiece. People generally, Mullinaghta thought they'd won the match by a point, and I think they obviously covered it, and I don't know what they came up with, because I wasn't at that particular game now, I was at Drummarlin Slashers. It's an awkward position for all concerned now, and it could hold up the championship, which wouldn't be nice to see, because they're to a schedule, and like, we've hurling final come up here in a couple of weeks' time, and ladies finals, and it's a packed programme already. And then for this to happen now, as it turns out, Mullinaghta have lodged an objection against the result. Like, in many ways, they thought they won, so they're entitled to do that. And I don't know, the draw will change then if they are awarded the win. Carrick-Edmond will drop into the relegation playoff. Now, whether it ends at that remains to be seen. I don't know. This could drag on, and then when will our county final be? Question.
Yeah, I was covering the Abilara Clongish game, which was on at the same time, but normally at half time I was checked to see, well, how are the other games going, and I just checked on Twitter, and the Longford GA Twitter or X had it down as 2-6 to 5 points a half time score. And it continued in that vein up until at some stage, maybe 10 minutes in the second half, where they adjusted the score. But I think the ref had indicated that the score on the scoreboard at half-time was incorrect, and it wasn't 2-6 to 5 points, it was 2-6 to 6 points. So he instructed them to change the scoreboard. Now, the clubber commentator had it at 2-6 to 5 points as well, and at some stage they had to adjust their scoreboard as well.
Obviously, yeah.
So, look, I haven't looked back in the video footage because I hadn't had a chance, but the referee's report, I suppose, has to be taken as the official score on the day, and that was taken in. And the only way it can be overturned is if the ref changes the report, or if one of the teams involved objects to the result. So Mullinachta, as Podgy says, have objected to the result, because if they won the game, which they thought they did, it would leave them in top place in Group B, facing Granard in a quarter-final. If the score remains as it was, they would finish in third place, and they would face Columkill. So maybe they've looked at it and said, we'd rather face Granard than Columkill. I don't know, but they'll still avoid Kilo. Either scenario, they'll avoid Kilo to a county final if they get that far. But I really think that it's tough on a referee, and I understand, because when you're at a match, and you know from taking scores, sometimes you can miss a score, or I'd say to you, I missed that score. I remember the half time you said, I've only Doherty down for 4 points. You said you only scored 5. But the ref doesn't have that luxury, and he has to depend on ticks on his book, and sometimes you might just make a human error, and maybe that's what happened in this case. But to put the onus on him then, when there is video evidence there, maybe that should have been looked at with the referee, with the county board, and say, well, let's look at this again and see what was the score, and maybe then make a decision. But to leave it for a club like Carrick-Kedmond or Dramard were suffering most, but they couldn't object, even though they knew, because they weren't involved in the game. So it's a very tough one, and it's a mess.
It is unfortunate, because in the modern era, this keyboard warriors and people getting elevated, and that's understandable because you obviously are rooting for your own team, but it's a bit unfortunate, and it'd be nice to think that maybe the camera heads can try and resolve it as best we can, and the fixtures will go ahead.
Just one other thing, Mick, if you look from Carrick-Kedmond's point of view, on the day, the players on the pitch, they trust the scoreboard to be what the score is. So they were chasing a 10-point deficit. So when they got close to the end, or a point down with the last kick or two of the game, if they were 2 points down, which maybe the score, but then they got to go for a goal. A point is no longer good enough for them. So it changes the way they approach the game. So
so it's valid, like everybody has a valid opinion. I just wonder, how far can these appeals go? So if Mullinachta appeal, and let's say the decision is overturned, and then I presume Carrick-Kedmond would appeal, and if that decision is overturned, can there be more appeals after this, or can it go rolling on?
There are ways of appealing, and I think it was actually a Longford controversy back a number of years ago that brought in other stages of appeal that you can go to. I'm not au fait completely on it.
Ends up in the DAR. That's the final stop. That's Dispute Resolution Authority. Now that's the highest you can go. These type of situations have dragged on. Like, nobody likes to be out of the championship, on the score difference, which, maybe you'll have to revisit that rule, because it's hard to be knocked out on score difference.
And then,
you know what I mean? Like, I know there was 4 teams together on 5 points. It was serious. I have to say now, of all the matches in the group stage of the county championship, this was by far the most interesting, far the most competitive. But ironically, it was one blip by Dramard that cost them in the heel of the hunt against Clongish, when they were lost by 14 points. And they couldn't bring the Slashers scoreline into it, because Slashers weren't involved in the tangle, in the 4-way tie. So, Dramard's score difference then went to a minus 10 or minus 11. And they lost now. But now, I was at the Dramard Slashers match, and the word was coming through that Mullinachta were coasting, and that Dramard was going to be in 4th spot. Now, you want to see the disappointment on their faces. when the news came through that they were out. Now this is before it broke about this pint, this extra pint, and as if their life depended on it for Dromard. Now, poor old John Duffy. He's the chairman of the club, and he a whiter shade of pale, I think he went, when he realised, because he'd know the situation and the regulation. This is a championship regulation that the clubs all knew about.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that aware of it, neither was my brother Benny, who was doing the commentary for Clubber. The spectators certainly weren't aware of it. I think Benny talked to Aaron Farrell after the match, and he was talking about the Kilo match.
Yeah.
And then I left Monaghan and Dromard out of the championship. Go back and write up a story to that effect. And then the rumour mill started about the match out in Ballymahon. They said that actually Mullingar knocked them one by a point. And now we're at this situation where the quarterfinals are all scheduled the weekend after next, and they can't play, if there's a hold up, they can't play one or two of them. They have to put them all on hold. Yeah. And it also affects the relegation issue. Because if Carrigaben lose out and if Dromard get, say that result is a win for Mullingar, and they decide the CCC, the Longford CCC, that's a win. Mullingar top the group, obviously. Dromard comes into fourth spot instead of Carrigaben. Carrigaben dropped down to the relegation playoff. Now, from what I'm hearing now is that they're level with Slashers on points and on score difference, they drew, that they'll have to play off.
Yeah. One
of them plays Keena, the winners plays Keena and the losers play Edgerstown. With no respect to Keena, we know which is the hardest game.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Edgerstown, who are an established senior club for many years. Yeah. So like here all of a sudden, Slashers are being thrown a bit of a lifeline in the relegation issue. Yeah. If it happens, so it's a domino effect.
So many repercussions from this.
It's the whole way down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
well, I think I suppose it just goes to show you can plan, you can bring in rules, you can bring in regulations, but things occur through no fault of anybody's, and it's just difficult to cause a bit of upset. But I'm sure they'll be ironed out, and hopefully, people can move on from it.
If this was the first game of the championship and nobody knows what's happening after, and there was a controversial point, maybe there would have been no objection over it at all. It's the fact that it's the last game, it's your last chance scenario, and everything depends on it, and the future in senior championship depends on it for two clubs as well as a possibility of being relegated.
And Carrigaben had a great season. Like they were a surprise package. They were supposed to be the guys that were going to finish bottom of the group. They literally deserved to go through and what they achieved this year under Eugene McCormick. They must be gutted at this moment in time, knowing that they could be out of the championship. Having on Saturday night, obviously went for a few drinks, lads. We're in.
And
we're in the quarterfinal.
I think that's two matches where they were done and dusted almost, but came back.
Came back. Against the Slashers, and actually led against Slashers. Ironically, and then Slashers got a last gasp equaliser. So they could have won another game.
Well, that's it.
And that would have been enough.
Group of death is right.
But we go to a little bit more concrete results, or some more concrete results. Abilar and Clongish on Saturday.
Yeah, I commented on that one on Clubber. A good, exciting game of football again, but again it was Clongish who were, Abilar were qualified, they were in the quarter-final, so they had less to play for. For Clongish, for the second week in a row, they had to win. It was a must-win situation for them. With the loss, they were out of the championship, and it was the first half, and I said it to Matthew Flynn, I gave him the Clubber TV man of the match after the game. The first half, and I haven't seen Clongish doing it this year, they dropped everybody back. They really played defensive in the first half. And Matthew says that they had been leaking goals in previous games and that they had made a conscious decision that we're going to establish ourselves in the first half, try and get a foothold into the game, not give away anything simple, And they're defended very well and led at half. Now, a turning point in that game was the sending off of Cian Brady, who went in very hard on Cormac Flynn, and it was Tony Gaffney had no option when he gave him a red card. It was right in front of the linesman. It was a dangerous tackle. So he'll be gone for a quarter final, I imagine, as well. But then the second half started, and Abilar, with the 14 men, started to get a foothold back into the game again. And the dragged level to 10 points apiece. And it looked by Jenny that Clongish were under pressure. But like that, they pushed forward. And when Clongish push forward, they will go at you. Matthew Carey scored a goal. Jack Duggan followed up a couple of minutes later with a goal. Then another point, and all of a sudden there were 7 points clear, and they never looked back. Matthew Carey got 1-4, Duggan got 1-4, Flynn chipped in with a couple of the Flynn. So when they're going forward, Clongish were very hard to stop and was very impressed with them in that second half, and they blew away Abilara.
And how would the match have gone, do you think, had Abilara not last keen?
I still think once Clongish made the decision to push forward that they were going to win the game. They had more to play for, they had more at stake than Abilara had, and they looked more impressive than Abilara did, and I just think that Clongish are coming good at the right time.
What was your headline in the paper, Podgy?
Well, on that one, obviously Clongish are still in contention for a crack at the county crown, but they always were, except that they got off to a bad start in the group. They were held to a draw by Slashers, probably have lost that match. Carrick Edmond, you see, this is the Carrick Edmond, and Carrick Edmond bet Clongish, bet them here actually, as it turned out. And if things don't work for them in the boardroom, they're out in the championship, and they beat Clongish, and that was a great result. That was probably the result of the championship.
Absolutely, it was, yeah.
For them to,
set them on the way.
But they are a coming team. They're coming good at the right time, as Jimmy says, and they're itching to get into Pearse Park. This is where they feel they can really express themselves, because they're a young team, and youth is going to come to the fore when this is all done and dusted. And Killoa have a fair spring, and they might have a lot of experience, but they have a lot of great young players as well. And I don't know, we can't predict the quarterfinals because we don't know what the actual we know that could change.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that again.
Clongish and Killoa could end up separating each other.
Yeah, so
as they could be in opposite sides of the draw.
And just on Joe O'Brien's gloves, I just wanted to mention Joe O'Brien's gloves if we have a minute, because the week before he had a bad pair of gloves. I don't know whether they were on the kids' gloves he had on him, but he showed me this lovely new pair of gloves that he got for that match. And he didn't have any goals in this.
So he must have heard what you said.
Yeah, he said, "Look at me gloves." He says,
"Yeah."
I think he was a bit peeved at your remarks.
Joe, lovely gloves.
People,
he won't need gloves.
Good old comrades. He would have played against them.
Jerry Moore, when I was going looking for the man of the match, Jerry Moore was coming over to me thinking it was him that was. I said, "Jerry, hold on for no hurling, you'll be all right." But they're a good bunch of lads in Clongish, and they're playing well, and I like the way they're starting to come into their form now. At an important time.
Lads come back from injury and all, Jimmy. So I mean they're going to take a bit of beating now.
Absolutely.
They're going to take a bit of beating, like.
Yeah. Very good. Lads, Dromard and Longford Slashers.
No, I was there at that
your
game.
Club not doing too well there.
No, not doing too well. I kind of predicted at the start that they'd struggle because we're missing a few players, and particularly Darragh O'Brien and Ty McNevin. Darragh's away, he's in New York, and Ty has stepped away from the panel for some reason. No, there's two serious losses, two county men that were in the county panel, and they're missing that power then, and then a lot of young, small lads in the team, maybe just wasn't managed. They weren't able to match the physical strength of Dromard. Dromard went in a high press from the word go, put all their good players up front. Joe Hagan went from the defence to attack. Aaron Farr was flying. He was bottled up the previous week, but he was flying this occasion. And then, of course, Jim Mass in the middle of the park. He had a super game, but there was a kind of an unsung hero among all this, and we chatted John Duffy about this on Sunday. A guy called Owen Palin scored a goal.
Yeah.
His work rate was
very good,
unbelievable, and they had lads in the defence that you'd say, "I will take these," but that's our defence. See, they were really up for it, and they showed unbelievably hard. They won by, I think it was 14 points or something, 2-16 to 8. It was a hammer for Slashers. You'd expect it to be a good bit closer. But there's no denying that Dromard looked really good now.
Yeah. They were really annoyed with themselves the week before, beating the Tucky against Clongish. They were really annoyed, and talking to the managers after that, they were just disgusted with themselves, and they went out with heads down as Jamesy Marr and Jeremy Matt, and Jamesy back as well, and
Jamesy was back,
two points
as well.
So they were hurting from the week before.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to be all for nothing, who knows?
As I say.
But Slashers, disappointing with Slashers. I had hoped for them the week before. They really played well against Mullinyock and played a good style of game. But the old feelings came back to them again against, and a black card for Peter Lynn, who had a great game the week before. Doesn't help when you go down to 14 against Dromard, who were fire.
But how do you beat Mullinack one week and then lose heavily to Dromard the next?
Well, and I said it last week on last week's show, Pádraig, that Dromard or Mullinack played with a strong win in the second half in both those games the week before, but never pushed up. And what I see in the championship with most teams is if you push up and go at it, you're going to get the results. And that's what you see. If you're going to play defensive, well, then you're going to suffer. But the teams that push up and go at it and go for their scores are winning games.
Like the Dromard performance was a complete opposite of the previous week. But I knew they had to win. It was simple as like. But I thought they said to themselves, "We win, they'd be good enough." But as it stands at the moment,
who knows whether it wasn't or not.
And at this moment in time, they're out of the championship. And they're definitely in the top 8, in my opinion.
Well, isn't it for teams going to training this week, for Kerry Kevin going to training this week, Dromard going to training this week, not knowing, well, are we practicing for a quarter final, or are we training for a relegation match that might be played whenever? I don't know when those relegation matches are going to be played.
They'll be played in conjunction with the quarter finals. But as I say,
but like if you have your league in controversy with Dromard and Slashers, now you have your championship controversy. Like Jesus.
And there was a few years ago too. The championship was held up as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we're going to hold up now because Mick is coming with the umbrella.
We're getting wet here, and there's somebody not liking us today.
Never mind the camera.
It's not bad weather.
Get over here quick.
Come to half for a minute, will you?
We can edit it out, but I'll hold that for you. Don't worry.
Here we are now with monsoon conditions.
Okay.
Now we've done Dromard and Slashers now.
Dromard and Slashers have been covered. Well, and Mullinack to
Dromard.
2-1. Rathline and Columkill.
Well, again,
well, it certainly is all seasons in one here today, and it's only early September. The next match, lads, is Rathline and Columkill. Columkill had a good win, Jimmy.
Good win again for Columkill. Again, like that, they're coming good at a good time in the year. And Rathline are, after a brilliant start to the championship, they're just fading a little bit, and I'm concerned for them. And again, harping back, they don't know who they're playing in a quarter final yet, but I fear that a quarter final might be one game too much for Rathline, and that unless they have everybody back and everybody fit, I fear for Rathline. But Columkill, they're flying again. They really are playing well and playing with confidence, And Gerard Carberry has them playing a good brand of football, good attacking football, and scoring heavily, which is very important.
Podgy, headline there in the paper.
Again, it's a game. It was a dead rubber game, so we kind of left that one because both teams already qualified. If I have one complaint about the group stage in the championship, there's 30 games played to get 8 teams through, and even at this moment in time they haven't got even 8 through because with this controversy with 9 through, whatever, so I think that's an uneven number. I went to school, I think that's an uneven number, so that can't work.
Jimmy, you're a man. You're the first man. Can you comment?
Well, you see, I think it's all to do with Podgy's prediction for the last. He was what do you call that? He was procrastinating over who was going to go out. So they're still procrastinating.
I
feel been listening to this, man.
I feel it's very important that we ensure that all the panellists on this programme are fully qualified, not only in the game but also mathematically. So I have a couple of questions. Podgy, what's 1 and 1? Well, Podgy,
I'll have to work that one out.
No. We need an answer, Podgy, or we won't be able to sign any future contracts. 1 and 1, Podgy.
1 and 1 is 2, mate.
No. Jimmy, you're known to be a man of numbers, I believe. What is 1 and 1?
1 and 1. 1.
Right, lads, I think we have serious issues. We're looking for any people who could replace these gentlemen. 1 and 1 is 11, lads.
Oh, sorry, right. Yeah.
Trick question.
Well, that's the number of teams that'll be in the senior championship next year. Possibly. There might be 13.
Folks, later on, we'll look at the footballing ability of our co-hosts here, and we're going to see how far they can kick the ball over the post. I'm not too confident about some of the players here. Lads, there's one more game in the senior championship then, and it's Mostrom and St Mary's Granard.
Yeah, Mostrom and Granard. Look, again, it was a must-win game for both teams over in Kilo. And just to comment on the passing of Father Michael Campbell there, the parish priest of Abilara. The game was moved to Kilo, so just to remember him, he was chairman of Abilara club for 12 years, from 03 to 15. So just to remember him today as well.
Funeral is today.
Actually, yeah. But Mostrom and Kilo, or Mostrom and Granard, as I say, a must-win, and it was a very entertaining game, a really entertaining game. Both teams sort of went at it, more or less went at it. Mostrom sort of dropped off a little bit in the first half and allowed Granard on to them, but they surprisingly went in a point up at half-time, 9 points to 8. But Granard just took over in the second half, and Mostrom failed to push up on them and put pressure on them, and Mostrom only scored 2 points. And look at Thomas Gallagher, the Granard goalie, was given the Clubber TV man of the match because he saved 2 penalties. But Mostrom brought on Seamus Hannon and put him in on the edge of the square. And I said to myself, right, they're going to pump balls into Seamus Hannon, and that's going to be their tactic. The 2 balls they pumped into him, he won fierce well and won 2 penalties. But they didn't kick any other ball, and they should have done it earlier. But it was chasing the game again and pushing up too late for Mostrom, I thought. And Dara Doherty stood up to take the 2 penalties. And, for Dara, he's such a genuine lad and such a great footballer. I really felt for him, because he's been carrying Mostrom all year, And from to miss the 2, well, not miss, but Thomas Gallagher saved both penalties. I was just devastated for Dara, that he could have changed the game. The first one, there were only 3 points. I would have read it level, but Granard went up the other end of the field and scored a point and made it a 4-point game, And look, it shouldn't have come down to that. Mostrom should have pushed up earlier and give ball in, but at the end of the day, they didn't. Now they're facing a relegation battle,
You saw it in Clubber, Podgy?
No, I was at the game. That was on Sunday, Mick. Unfortunately, Mostrom's biggest problem all year was the lack of scoring power, and it came back to haunt them last week. I think Tiernan Hussey and Dara Doherty scored 10 of the 11 points between them, 5 apiece. And I think James Conway might have got the other point, but Granard had the greater spread of scores, and particularly I'd like to mention Jamie Brady Hines really stood up, scored 6 points, and I was impressed with the full forward Rory Corcoran.
Yeah.
He got 3 points early in the game, against the wind when they needed scores.
And good scores.
Good
Well,
scores.
Yeah.
And then they brought on Micheál Hines, and he kicked a point. And as I say, the good youth in Granard. Like, they weren't dependent on Darren Gallagher last week now, Jimmy.
And that switch of Mark Tully to full back and James Kiernan out has given them more options out there on the 40 as well. And Jordan Shields out on the wing. He got a lot of ball, and a lot of ball between him, Kiernan and Tully, and that triumvirate in there. Did a lot of damage and set up a lot of attacks,
Yeah, there might be that much of a pushover, you'd be saying, we're playing Granard. Granard have a great tradition, and they've been in these quarter-final situations before, and they'd be itching to get back. They were delighted after the match, naturally, they avoided the relegation, and they're into a championship quarter-final, and they'll be trying to prove their critics wrong when they get to the park, So.
Right, well, lads, next week, hopefully, or whenever issues have been decided, we'll be presenting a preview programme with a bit of analysis from the 2 lads. We look forward to that. Lads, the intermediate championship and junior championship matches?
Yeah, I was at Fallerman and Gales there on Ballymahan on Thursday. Gales won, or that was the previous week. Ballymahan and the Gales were last Thursday out in Newtown.
Oh, yeah.
And Gales won with considerable ease, but Ballymahan are in trouble. It looks, I don't know where they're going to get. I think they have to play Conleys and Killishee, and it looks like they're going to go into junior unless they get a win from somewhere. Arlamaidu had a great result against Killishee now. They needed to get something.
They had to get that result, yeah.
And they got a point, and that point not only would it might just keep them in the intermediate championship, but it might just get them into the semi-finals as well. Because Cashel have a couple of tough games to go. Again, and particularly that local derby against Cashel or Killishee.
They were well up in that game.
They were 10-5 up, 10-5 up, and then the Conleys were playing Cashel last week, and they won 11-5. I think that was the final score. So they were always going to win that. Conleys are going to be taking a beating now, Jimmy.
Yeah, they should be favourites for that.
They should be favourites.
Gales, I suppose.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They'll be probably thinking.
They'll probably avoid each other.
They will avoid each other. It's looking, and that they'll meet in the county final. But maybe she might have something to say about that, but I just think that they're the two, like, aren't they?
It's really Cashel, Ballymore and Ballymahan who are under serious pressure.
It's looking like that, because at least
draw sort of gives Ardmaidu a chance.
Ardmaidu are playing Ballymore in their final fixture.
So win there.
They lose there, then they're in trouble, because Ballymore will have 4 points. Ballymore bet Ballymahan.
So the ref knows what the score is, we are right.
But just on David Tiernan, like sometimes it's just hard to. I even see myself. I say, did I miss that point? I'd say. So it can happen.
It's simple how it can happen.
And put him in an awkward position. But I don't know what his referee's report was, but he said at the end the match was a draw, and that's the official result at the moment.
That's it.
It might be the official result come whenever the objection is heard. I think it's Friday even. But hopefully they can get going again and get moving. And not to be dragging on. We don't want this dragging on, because it's all set there and it's going perfectly. And now kind of all up in a heap again. Now, it's not the first time this happened, And
hurling, Jimmy?
Hurling, God bless us, make you remember the hurling, huh? Isn't it fantastic? It was the rain that helped you to remember the hurling. You have memories of hurling in Kildare when the rain was falling.
Tonight we're interviewing the Slashers manager, and we're hoping to get to...
Who's the Slashers manager?
Mr. Ward, Niall Ward.
Mr. Hurling.
And we're hoping to interview John
Lynham.
In
Clongish. John O'Brien in
John
Clongish.
O'Brien in Clongish, and John Lynham then.
3 wise men, huh?
And hopefully we'll get those before
look at
the final.
Effectively the semi-final between Clongish and Slashers is on this Sunday in Edgerstown at 2:30. So the scenario is simple: a draw or a win for Slashers will put them through to a final against Wolf Tones. For Clongish, they have to win by at least 5 points. So that's what they have to do. And they're well capable of scoring heavily. They did it against Wolf Tones in the first round game, but Joe O'Brien was in goals that day, and he came forward and he scored, I think, out of their 18 points, I think he scored 15 or 14 points. So even though he's playing in goals, but he came forward and took the frees. He played out the field in the second half. I can see them playing Joe out the field, and maybe Aina Daly coming back. I'm not sure if Aina's available or not, putting Aina in goals and putting Joe out the field. And if Clongish have Joe out the field, he's going to put serious pressure on Slashers. Now Slashers, the two Murrays, I was talking to Carl last week, and he's hopeful that maybe, he said Ruben is further on in his injury than he is, but they're hoping that if they're not back, they may be back for the Clongish game. They'll definitely be back for a final if they get that far, but also in the junior championship they're a loss for
they are
a
loss. And just cast our mind back to the junior championship. Grattan's were well beaten by the Killow second string last week, and they're in trouble in the junior championship. And I think themselves in league and play in the last round, and the losers there looks like they're going to go out. So it'd be some shock if Grattan's go out, because at the start they would have been nearly the favourites to win the junior championship.
But those two Murrays, Carl and Ruben, are a huge loss for them. With hurling or football, they're two very good players, both of them.
Look at it. That's the centrepiece this weekend, the hurling, and I'm looking forward to it. And surely they'll be going all out.
They'll go all out. And they've won the last 2 county titles, so they want to get 3 in a row. Slashers, they have a good team, Slashers, and a lot on the bench as well. They have a lot of players, young players coming through. Yeah, they have
worked hard on the edge, didn't
they? Well, Niall Ward, he's been doing it, and he's still at it. I was on under 12 game against him last week, and he was one side roaring to his side, and I was on my side roaring to his, and he's there at every game. And then he went down to a challenge game and an under 16 game. He's in every match. Fair play to Niall, Mightn't tell you that face to face, Niall, but you know yourself.
Right,
just before we go, let's not forget the ladies football championship that's going on at the moment, and maybe we'll discuss that next week. The final games in the group stages are this weekend, I think, Jimmy.
They are, yeah.
And then that'll leave the way clear for the semi-finals. They'll probably take a break for a week.
The semi-finals. See, there's 2 championships. It's a strange ladies football this year.
It's very strange.
You have 5 teams in the senior championship.
Yeah.
And you have 4 teams in the intermediate championship, but 3 of those are in the intermediate championship make up the 5 in the senior championship.
Yes.
Mostram being the
exception. 2 championships, in other words.
Playing in 2 championships.
Yeah.
And with the possibility of getting to 2 championship finals, an intermediate final and a senior final, which are both being played on the same day.
So it can't be on the same day if it happens.
Well, I don't know where it's going. For Mostyn, we've lost all our games so far. We're taking heavy, but we've a very young side and building. Arda were doing well, but suffered a couple of defeats. But it seems to be Clongish, Slashers, Carrykebben, Kilo.
Or the Kilo, I don't think it'll be Clongish, Carrykebben, Slashers. And who's the other one in that one then?
Kilo.
Yeah,
they're the four that I'd imagine should be. Arda have lost a couple of games.
Arda as well, yeah. But I think Kilo are struggling more so than any of them.
Yeah.
So they might make the semi-finals.
Carrykebben are going well, Slashers are going well, and Clongish.
So one of those three that Jimmy talked about, Carrykebben, Kilo, and it's all very confusing.
Slashers.
The three teams that are playing in the senior championship are
playing in the intermediate.
So one of them is obviously going to win the intermediate championship. The junior A championship is shaping up well. Colmcille and Dramard, they are neighbouring rivals. They met in the intermediate final a couple of years ago, and they look like the main contenders there. And then the junior B championship, they're solely in that. Like, they should win that.
It's great to see all these new teams coming through. Like a few years ago, Arda didn't have a team, and a couple of the girls, Joanna White and Leanne Keegan, played for us and Mostyn, and now they have their own team, and they're challenging maybe to win an intermediate title. So they've come up a long way, and great work been done underage at all.
And Slashers are going for 6 in a row in the senior too, So
and a Leinster title and an All-Ireland title on the way there.
It's an achievement if they can get that 6. They got 5 last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they're going for 6 now. Which will be some sort of a record.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But look at it's a very busy season, Mick. It never stops, but we're really in the busy period now. But I just hope that we're getting back to the controversial saga that we're not going to be held up.
Yeah. No, hopefully.
Look at that's all we can hope for anyway, folks. I'd like to thank Podgy and Jimmy here for their input into the programme, and we hope to bring you more, please God, next week. We're now just going to go and test the two boys for their footballing skills, and which we'll be able to measure their abilities. I'm not too hopeful, but join us shortly. Now, lads, let down that. Can you just move that, lads, and try to help out?
Oh, yes, boss.
I was no good in these conditions.
Yeah.
I was a playing corner forward.
We had taken the shot before.